The internet is a different place today than it was when the internet had its inception around the late 80s and into the 90s. So there's a lot of different things that we can do with the internet now that we couldn't do back then. It's just way more robust than simply sitting and chatting with your friends in an AOL chat room with 5,000 other people and hoping you don't miss their message. But with that has come other new, well, I don't want to call it new, but different online behaviors. So whereas before we had creepy people, we had weird people, and yes, some of those cases did impact people in their personal life, I would say that in today's world, stuff that happens on the internet bleeds into real life much more easily now than it did before. But this also means that some of the threats are increased because pretty much anything goes on certain parts of the internet. And with that anything goes mentality, this is the idea that people will say anything that they want to say on the internet because they have the luxury of anonymity. If they're faceless, they might feel emboldened when they're not actually in front of the person who they are saying all of these awful things about and who they're reading for filth. Some of this also too can be attributed to the fact that today's adults are wired differently than the adults of the 90s. So we're much more chronically online than we used to be. Some people log on to social media first thing when they wake up in the morning, and then they just stay there all day until they go to bed at night. And sometimes that's at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Constantly scrolling on your phone and having exposure to those blue lights that technology has that, you know, they zap that stuff into our brains so that we'll go out and buy more of their merch. I'm kidding. But, you know, there are blue lights on most of the screens that we look at. That's why we're advised to put screens down at least an hour before we go to bed, because all of the interacting with the screens can interrupt your sleep. But it also impacts your nervous system. So how your nervous system stays regulated can be impacted by your exposure to screens. It's also a stressful time to be alive right now. So when you've got the pressure and stress of tons of bills that you have to pay, but you don't have steady employment, you don't make enough money at your job in order to take care of yourself, maybe take care of your dependents if you have them, and still have something left over. We're also being bombarded by news right now. The current regime that is in control of the United States loves to push lots of stories through the media cycle so that people are overwhelmed, and that can definitely impact your nervous system. But another part of why people are being so weird and wonky all over the internet right now has to do with outrage marketing. So what is outrage marketing? Basically, this is the concept of getting as many eyes to look at your picture, your post, your video, whatever you're putting out for the world to consume through pissing them off. So this is posting scantily clad images, for instance, and claiming my body, my choice. This is using certain slurs or certain political stances as like your main personality on the internet. You know who's really good at this? And I know you've probably heard this before. I'm not the first person to tell you, but the Kardashians are great at outrage marketing. The whole reason that they're even on our radar in the first place, and I mean, I didn't let them onto my radar willingly. They barged their way there. And it was because of that sex tape. Kim and Ray J shot a sex tape and then they leaked it. Well, Kristen Jenner, Kim's mom, leaked it to the masses. And then she pretended like, oh no, I can't believe that this is out there. Oh! And it's almost like a Streisand effect that these people are going for, because they figure if I use German slur that Adolf espoused, or if I use the N-word, or if I use the F word as it is applied to people who engage in same-sex relationships, they figure, well, people are going to be so angry that they're going to want to come and look at this. They're going to tell their friends about it. They're going to show other people. And that's just going to bring more attention to my profile, my brand, my platform, whatever it is that I'm pushing. And they are pretty much doing a numbers game with it. They figure if I can catch 100,000 people, I'll probably keep at least 25,000 of them. There's also the attention economy, and I've talked about this in a previous video before, but the attention economy is kind of like the main equalizer for all brands, influencers, anybody who wants to sell anything in the public sphere. Basically, I don't see any delineation between, let's say, maybe a legacy brand like Wendy's. I just called Wendy's a legacy brand, but you know what I mean. A brand that's been around for a while. You know, they used to have commercials on television and on the radio when those mediums were huge. But Wendy's is very much doing the same thing that like a TikTok influencer is doing by trying to capture your attention. And so the way that Wendy's does it is by hijacking AAVE or using urban language in their posts to kind of read people and tell off other brands and things like that. I doubt that there's a black person who's actually running the Wendy's Twitter account or, you know, the Wendy's Threads account, but that's their shtick, is that they like to come out and speak all slick and stuff, and then people laugh at it, they share it. That gets traction for Wendy's. But now, because we are at this sort of end stage of capitalism, we're seeing this a lot more, and that's why I wanted to make this video to sort of give you a heads up for what to look out for, because we've got a lot of out-of-pocket people running around on the internet right now. When it comes to defining end stage capitalism is marked by extreme wealth inequality, so lots of people with lots and lots of money, and then a very large poor class of people who can barely make it. Corporate dominance and consolidation, which I would say that we have been seeing. I actually made videos about the retail apocalypse that we've been going through as well, that claimed like Joann's Fabrics and Party City. Commodification of everything. More aspects of life, such as healthcare, education, personal data, even social relationships are turned into things that can be bought and sold. Look at all of the gambling opportunities we have in our world today. It's not just the same as like the sports betting and some slots and maybe some poker. It's much more than that. People are betting on not just the game, but is this person going to get hurt during the game? Is this person going to miss the field goal during the game? How many runs batted in is this person going to be responsible for? You know, all those little nuances of the game. Suddenly now, people have commodified basic life, like literally just life. What you do when you walk out of the door of your house. What you do when you walk into Kohl's or Ross or wherever it is that you're shopping. People are betting on that. Let's see here. Moving on with the list. Precarious work. So growth of gig work, contract jobs, and weakened labor protections. So the disappearance of unions, along with lots and lots of part-time opportunities, gig-type opportunities, very little full-time work for people. Political influence of money. Financialization. More economic opportunity revolves around financial markets and speculation rather than producing goods and services. And if you're somebody who is very interested in economic development and just sort of the history and the happenings of all of that, I suggest a channel called Cold Fusion that I am subscribed to. I've been subscribed to that channel for almost 10 years now, I think. And it's hosted by a man named Dagogo. He's based in Australia last time I knew. But he has a very good video about how the real economy never returned after the 2008 economic crash. I will link it in my description. It's a very good watch. And lastly here for the markers of end-stage capitalism are environmental strain. Critics argue that constant growth incentives contribute to overuse of natural resources and climate issues. And yeah, aren't all of the world's richest people right now duking it out over the materials that are in Greenland underneath that ice shelf? So, I mean, we're here, we're in end stage capitalism right now. All of those 7 details that I just read off of my computer screen, we can very easily see evidence of that in United States society right now. And so because that's where we are functioning, we are also seeing people just become real crazy wild out of pocket with how they are trying to stake their claim on the attention economy. So this looks like people coming into your comments under a post to say, no, that's wrong. You're lying. You're spreading misinformation about something that might be very easy to verify. It's very common that, what you're speaking and posting about is true, but they'll come into the comments and they'll argue because number one, that gets them some engagement. And number two, it might even bring people over to their profiles so people see what they're doing. I see this a lot on Threads. And the main reason that I wanted to bring this up in a video right now is because number one, I wanted to make people aware of what was happening. If you're feeling more outraged, more annoyed, more like, ugh, I just don't want to deal with this anymore when you go onto social media or parts of the internet. Number one, you might just be maturing as well. We can all grow up and into new phases of life. That's fine. But also number two, people are out here trying to get coins, trying to get sponsorship deals, trying to get as many subscribers, as many followers, as many people looking at them as possible, because that engagement can be taken to brands to pitch for sponsorship deals. I would say that we are also in what I'm going to refer to as the Charlie Kirk era of discourse, especially when it comes to topics where you have to be informed, such as politics or just topics that are heavily information dense, anything like that. We have shifted to this idea that if you can be the loudest and the most stern as you speak about something, then that means you're right. You win the debate. It's not really so much about argument and counter-argument and rebuttal or anything like that, like what we studied in communication class for all of you who went to speech and debate, were in speech and debate in school. It's not like that anymore. It's not about how many sources you have, what your proof is, how reliable the sources are that you are referencing. It's really just about how cool can you look while telling this person off, and how resolute can you be in what it is that you believe in. Couple this with the fact that a lot of people already don't know how to do research, don't know how to critically think. They instead turn to the internet to find confirmation for what they are believing and thinking and invested in, rather than doing objective research on the topic to see what are all of the different perspectives on this, and then figuring out where they lie somewhere amid all of that. And I would say that this problem is not being made any better through the assumption of CEO that Erica Kirk has now done as the CEO of TPUSA. She hosts her husband's podcast now. I mean, that podcast is still growing in numbers, even though the host, the person whose name is in the title, has been deceased for almost a year now. But even when Erica Kirk speaks to the public and addresses people, she doesn't speak in ways that are logical or rational. She says things like, the enemy is coming for us. Notice how she never defines anything specifically. Who is this enemy? It's whoever you want it to be. She said it like that on purpose. Erica has also made comments recently about how people are constantly attacking her. No one will just leave her alone. When, in all honesty, I don't know why a woman who is allegedly grieving the violent public death of her spouse, I don't know why she's continuing to do all of that in the public eye. Don't you want to go and do that away from our eyes somewhere and with your children? But this video isn't about Erica Kirk and all of my criticisms of her. I will probably get to that in a later video. But I brought her up to make an example of this thing that I'm talking about that's sort of coupling with the outrage marketing and the attention economy and the way that people are rage baiting others to come and pay attention to me and, get distracted by what it is that I'm saying and all of these stupid comments that I'm leaving under all these posts and all these videos, basically harassing people, borderline. And because I wanted to share a message that I think the only way that we are going to outsmart these systems, all these dumb algorithms, all this AI slop and these bots, all these people out here trying to get cheap attention off of just being ridiculous. I think the best way for us to move forward is to just starve the system. That's not to say you can't go onto social media, but maybe don't engage with the people who you know are very clearly trying to provoke you into an internet fight. You can always block and report people as well. I love the block feature on every platform. And just remember to take healthy breaks. Put some space between yourself and all of these dealings, all of this discourse, all of these messages. Because at the end of the day, the real world really is happening out here. It's not happening in the phone. It's not happening in the computer. It's not happening on the internet. And I really just can't wait until we get to the next phase of whatever this is supposed to look like, because my goodness, end stage capitalism is annoying. Those are my thoughts.